Hello and welcome to the fifth installment of 5 on It News. This is a daily, semi-daily news blog that is meant to take the most globally impacting and riveting stories, bring them to you in an easy-to-understand manner. My name is Edwin Leskin from Asheville, North Carolina, and this is just in its trial run, but I've already seen a lot of people checking it out, and I just want to say thank you to everyone for all of your support and also for all of your feedback. I got some really great feedback yesterday that's going to help me out even today. So the format of these videos is that I start out with quick mention where I go through and I knock out a bunch of interesting stories that maybe aren't my primary focus, but that I want you to know about. And I'm always sifting through the mainstream media trying to find the good stuff. And then at the end of the video, I talk about something more in depth, maybe a couple more things in depth, and I'm getting into a little bit of analysis or some more interesting kind of educational stuff at the end of the videos. We'll see how that goes. So basically today I was going through the news, and there was lots of stuff going on, but there wasn't much that I wanted to report on. My rubric for things is, does this kind of affect you? Is this something you need to know about? Or does this affect the global kind of geopolitical spectrum in some way? Or is this just a really shocking change in an individual nation? So let's get right into it. Quick mention. Let's go. I want to start talking today about Nigeria. We've been talking about some of the conflict in Africa. We're talking about South Sudan a little bit, mostly about Nigeria and Boko Haram. So Nigeria was holding votes, and these votes, this poll that they're doing was threatened by Boko Haram. They came out and said, hey, we're going to attack. Well, they did. Multiple attacks happened in north and south Nigeria, claiming dozens of lives. So, that's harrowing, but, this is what was expected to happen. It's rough for the people over there. This story plays into the next thing that I want to talk about. For the past week, I've been talking about Nigeria, and I've been really having this feeling that something's going to come to fruition, something that's really worth talking about. So this did happen. So Central African leaders are now planning a general offensive against Boko Haram. These nations are coming together. We have Chad, Cameroon, Niger, Nigeria. They formed a military alliance. We also have the Economic Community of Central African States. They've committed to spend $86 million to fight Boko Haram. And so they're getting all their stuff together. Everyone's getting their stuff together to submit a plan to the Peace and Security Council of the African Union. Then it'll be sent to the United Nations, to the Security Council there, before it can come to fruition. Well, I just want to say that I think that this is a really positive movement. We've seen Chad be drawn into the conflict recently, and of course the other nations that were mentioned very directly. And the fighting has been heavy, and there's many attacks. So we see these nations coming together. They've also asked for more international support, and the international community kind of respond to what's going on. I think that this is potentially the heaviest conflict outside of the Middle East that's involving radical Islam and that mindset. So I think this is really good. I'm going to stay up on this and see how this goes, and hopefully we'll see some really good things from this, and Niger can start to make a strong impact, or this area can start to make a strong impact against Boko Haram. So now I want to talk about Texas here in the United States. So Obama has issued an order to shield millions of people in the United States who are here illegally from being deported. So, a Texas judge basically blocked the order, and now it's going to go to appeals. The White House is saying, okay, you blocked it, it's going to go to appeals, and we'll see where that goes. Now, I just wanted to bring this up because I think it's an interesting subject that is, of course, very politically dividing. I want to remind people also that, and this is something that I only realized in the past year, there's far more than just an ideological split here. A lot of people are like, look, these are hardworking people. They want to be American citizens. Let's let them stay. Well, I just want to also raise up for the people that are in these towns, in these border towns, and, are in states like Texas, where people are coming over, every single day. This is a real in-your-face problem. You have people just arriving, economic refugees, just people that want to come and work, people that already have family here. And, sometimes, I believe there was a story last year of like hundreds of children arriving on big trucks or something like this. So I just want to remind people this is far more than an ideological problem. This is really something going on the ground. I think it's part of the reason that Barack Obama has said, okay, well, we're going to uphold the fact that this was denied and take it through the court systems. So I'm going to try to stay up on that. We'll see how that goes. I want to move now. We're going to talk about Libya. We're going to talk about ISIS. So Libya has a legal government. It's not very much necessarily in complete control. Libya is under a tremendous amount of strife right now. But they're sending fighters to confront ISIS. Misrata's 166th Battalion, backed by rebels, to tackle ISIS in Sirte. So I think this is interesting whenever we see more nations getting involved with this. Yesterday I talked about ISIS embroiling more and more countries through their violence. We're going to get to a little something about that at the end there with my major story I want to talk about today. This kind of leads us into our next story. So the United States and Turkey have come to a deal to train the Free Syrian Army. I think this is a very, very interesting development. The Free Syrian Army is one of the groups, we call them the moderate groups, in Syria, kind of fighting for independence, fighting against al-Assad, the government there. If it can even be called a government at this point, with all the fighting that's gone on there, fighting against rebels. And, there's been questions in the past. Okay, so does the Free Syrian Army have too many ties to Islamic militants? Does the Free Syrian Army, do the weapons that we send them just end up in the hands of militants, or, the technology, the training? But, we see this conflict ramping up. There's gears of motion kind of pulling in so many nations to, to tackle this problem. So now we're working with Turkey to actually train the Free Syrian Army. We want to train about 5,000 of these rebels, and we're going to send, 4,000, or they want to, 4,000 or 400 people, troops of ours over there to train. They want to do 15,000, trainings of the Free Syrian Army within 3 years. So I think this is very interesting just to see that we've kind of said, hey, we are going to collaborate with the Free Syrian Army. We've talked about it before. There's been a lot of debate about it, but we're going forward with it, it looks like. I want to move on to my last story before I kind of talk about the major thing for today. As I said, there's not too much going on that I really wanted to cover, but it's just another example of, of a country kind of mobilizing against what's going on in the Middle East. A lot of the news these days has been about ISIS and what's going on there, and it's such an important conflict that we all need to keep in our minds, I believe, and really form a strong analytical base of understanding what's going on and catch up on if we want to be informed global citizens. So Tokyo, Japan, said that they will pledge $15.5 million to fight quote-unquote terror in the Middle East. The funds will assist with border control, investigation, and growing the legal systems in the Middle East and Africa. Like I said, I think this is interesting to see yet another nation, pledging their support in one way or another. So that kind of leads us into the main story today. Those were the quick mentions. And before we go into the main story, I'm just going to do a little recap. I've decided that people were saying, hey, it's kind of hard to keep my focus when we go through all these stories. So I'm just going to do a recap of what was just talked about. So in Nigeria, there was these polls going on for this vote. They were attacked by Boko Haram. Then we moved into talking about the fact that there is a coalition of Central African nations that are coming together with financial backing from the Economic Community for Central African States to fight Boko Haram. $86 million, multiple countries. They're going to send their stuff to the African Union and then to the United Nations Security Council, really get some headway on Boko Haram. Then we moved in, we talked about, a Texas judge suspending these immigration orders that Obama has posed. We'll keep on with that and see what happens in courts. It's going to be very interesting to me, at least. So then we talked about basically Libya deploying troops to fight ISIS. Another instance of a nation getting involved. Later on, we talked about Japan, pledging money. So, we get, multiple involvement of new nations kind of, pledging their direct support to take down ISIS. And we also talked about the United States and Turkey training the Free Syrian Army, also known as the FSA, to fight, in Syria against ISIS, against al-Assad, I guess. And that's a very interesting story that we're finally choosing to do that. We're collaborating with Turkey on that. Turkey, of course, is right there. As they've already had, some tragedy go on, and they're very concerned about what's happening with ISIS. So those are kind of the quick mention stories. I want to get into the main story today. So the main story is mostly going to be an analytical piece, and it's a little bit educational. So yesterday I posed the question. I was talking about ISIS and their methods of seriously enraging Egypt, Jordan, the United States, all these nations, and I posed the question. How could this possibly be good for them? What do they stand to gain from, not just making headway in the place where they are, but what do they stand to gain from embroiling all these nations, making everyone so mad and drawing, tremendous amount of potential military threat upon them? Well, I woke up today, maybe it was last night, and there was an article in CNN, and it's preempting a book that I believe is being put out by some terrorist experts. And I'll try to, get the name of the book maybe for a future video. But it basically answered that question directly. I mean, the taglines are like, why does ISIS keep on making enemies? Well, I'm trying to give this over simply. So apparently in the Quran, the end of days will come about with a major battle in a Syrian town of Daqib, or is it Dabiq? I believe that it is Daqib. Anyway, will culminate in a major battle where Muslims will be on one side, and then it says Rome, I believe in the original scripture, but that's taken to mean kind of the Crusaders, the Westerners, will be on the other side. There will be, a massive battle, and then from that, true Islam will reign. The Islamic militants will win. True Islam will reign. Well, this is the actual purported strategy and end goal of ISIS in general is to create a massive ground battle by drawing in all these nations and to center all this conflict around Syria so that they can win this, major battle and true Islam can reign. So, my speculation yesterday, I didn't really even go to the fact of, maybe there's just strictly an ideological back into this, but there's a methodical kind of outlook throughout ISIS, from the top to the bottom of embroiling all these nations into a conflict so that they can trigger the apocalypse, basically. They can trigger the end of days. So I think that this is extraordinarily interesting because it kind of shifts some of the thoughts about what ISIS, why they've been doing the things they've been doing, what they will do in the future. There's no rules and everything's off the table. Everything's on the table for them at this point. And, they want to create massive strife. The reason that they are, killing so many people, creating all these all of these videos and all these publications is because they want people to get as angry as possible. They want a ground invasion. They want full, head-to-head combat. I don't think it would play out with them just based on numbers. I'm a bit of a realist when it comes to, military might. So I think this is, it's actually Dabiq. I was saying Daqib earlier. It is Dabiq. So, even their in-flight magazine, quote unquote, but their major propaganda publication is called Dabiq. And, this is, we're viewing, ISIS as a rational actor, like a developing city-state. It's not. The quote from this article, the magazine documents, ideology is that of an apocalyptic cult that believes we're living the end of times and that ISIS's actions are hastening the moment when kind of the apocalypse is going to happen. That's absolutely wild. So it, really puts things into perspective of like, wow, these people are truly, acting outside of the normal way that we think about things when we look at these conflicts. This isn't for, power and all these different things. And, who's to say we might get further down the line and realize that this is the kind of tagline or this is the ideological frame reference for doing all these things. Or frame of reference for doing all these, horrible atrocities, but that, maybe there's more independent actors within the spectrum of ISIS. But right now, this is a major revelation for me, and I believe for, Western media consumers, people that are really interested. I think that we've already, and it was mentioned in the article, but it's mentioned by a lot of people that we've already underestimated ISIS by not properly understanding what their motivations are and where this comes from. So this is a more clear look of, of wow. So these people actually do have a coordinated ideology to bring about the apocalypse through drawing in a ground war. And I believe that, let me find this one part. So when the aid worker Peter Kassig was murdered by ISIS last November, there's this masked kind of British jihadi that's been in a lot of videos. And he said, I believe before the killing of Peter, he said, we bury the first crusader in Dabiq, eagerly awaiting the rest of your armies to arrive. So, they want to bring about a apocalyptic prophecy through triggering a massive war. Absolutely mind-blowing to me. And there was another article that was kind of tacked into this that, was... saying that basically everything, it's billboards, license plates, stationery, and coins, I'm kind of quoting right here, is the prophetic methodology where they follow the prophecy and example of Muhammad. I just want to note, as somebody that has a very clear understanding of the Hadith and of the Quran, I'm sure that a lot of you don't even know what the Hadith are. There are a bunch of examples of, what the Prophet Muhammad actually did in his life. That the Prophet Muhammad was, not a bloodthirsty, a murderous kind of person by any means. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff about you should pass by if you see people practicing religion, localized religions, pass them by, to never rape, to never kill the innocent, to never kill children. All these atrocities are, of course, committed by ISIS on a fairly regular basis. So I just want to, for anyone who's watching that's really developing a negative opinion of Islam, this is so different from what Islam seems to be really about at its core and what the scripture really says. But they believe that they're following the Prophet Muhammad. They believe that they're triggering the apocalypse through their ground war. And I think that it's absolutely amazing to have that revelation of wow. So, these people are more of a cult. And there is... the people that wrote this book, say violent apocalyptic groups like ISIS tend to see themselves as participating in a cosmic war between good and evil in which moral rules do not apply. So this gives some background, a further ideological understanding to some of what's going on over there. And it makes me scared for if we actually do engage in a ground war. I mean, if nothing's off the table for them, the potential for mass hostage situations or mass slaughtering of innocents, to kind of goad us or to keep us away from areas. I mean, really nothing's off the table for these people. So this group, which has been causing so much atrocity, so many problems in the world, is really pardon my French, on some other shit. So this is really wild, and I just want to follow up. I think it was very interesting that I was posing this question yesterday, and I've been thinking about it for a while as I've followed ISIS over the past year. To get that answer directly from the media is kind of serendipitous. So now we have our answer. The reason that they're getting all these nations involved is because they want to trigger the apocalypse. There were a massive ground war centered around the town of Dabiq. Okay, so that's the show for today. We did the quick mentions, and now we just talked about a little bit of analysis at the end. I'm going to try to get into some more analysis or education. If there isn't big stuff going on in the news, just talk about more interesting stuff at the end, lend some of my knowledge or expertise. But a lot of it will be looking at kind of the thoughts of others. So I hope that you're still enjoying this show. As I mentioned yesterday, I'm trying to perfect the format. This is only our 5th installment. It's only been going on for a week. I'm trying to perfect the format over the next couple of weeks and then really take it up to the next level, let a lot more people know about it. But it really helps if a lot more people know about it right now. So if there's the Facebook link in the comments. If you want to go there and like it and share the video, or share the video on your Twitter. I'll have Twitter up soon. Just get more people involved. And if you really enjoy this, as this is actually helping you, you're watching every day, it would be a huge help to try to get it out to people and let them know, hey, I'm checking this out. This guy's giving me the news, a better understanding of what's going on in the world. I also mentioned yesterday there might be some new kinds of videos coming out. Those are in the incubation phases. I'll have more news about that soon, and I'm probably going to do a shorter segment that just lets people know kind of the future of what's going on with this show. Once again, I hope that today was helpful. If I got anything wrong, or if you want to mention anything, or have any interesting stories or any feedback or just anything, go into the comments. Let me know about it, or send me a message directly if you're a personal friend. And I hope you have a fantastic day. My name is Edwin Leskin, once again, the 5th installment of 5 on It News, and that is a wrap.